a chip on my shoulder.
We gathered the 3 most successful coaches in Chicago basketball history. They combined 13 state championship rings.
Once you give it, you can't get it back.
Coming together to give Chicago the show it deserves.
What a play by Terry Cully.
Of the best basketball culture in the world. This is 13 Rings. No, your screen is not glitching right now. This is a crossover event.
We respect what you guys are doing. You know, I do watch it. It's good for our city.
Connection with Liv go way back. I might well say when I was in diapers. Remember, I always used to come by the house and you know, spend time with the family and, you know, my grandmother, my mom and dad.
But is even a greater person now after the basketball player. And I'm with Robert. You need to get back to Chicago. You need to come back to Chicago because we need your positivity in Chicago.
Walter Bond, Keith Stallings at Dunbar High School was another one.
Saying if you see Marcus play, then you kind of saw Ben play, you know?
Right? Jimmy Collins is actually sitting down talking to me, man, boy, you put on the show tonight, man. Coach Collins coming on the low end to hang out with me in the project, you know. I'm like, man, he real.
So let me ask you this. Does it censor bad words? I'm just want to know. Does it will it clean up bad words?
It will not censor bad words.
Hard in here.
You're trying to say retired?
And no.
Hold on. Hey, Marcus, I was going to say, that is too bad that Nick is gone because you know, Nick will retire your jersey at Morgan Park. He's retired about 3 years already.
Hey, 30 would never be worn again.
We're excited to have Robert Reed and Marcus Liberty. Guys, can't thank you enough for joining us. This is awesome.
Thank you.
So I always like to start off just by getting to know our guests better. And this is a collaboration. You're not our guest here today, but I'm just interested to get to know you guys a little bit better because the 4 of us really admire you guys before this show, obviously, but also just we love what you do and we're here to support you. Rob, aren't we supposed to be enemies with them because they're another show?
No, this family, yeah.
This is family? Okay, cool. Yeah, I was like, we're not enemies. That's the point of this episode.
These two new brothers you got, man. You ain't know that.
Right.
I love it. So, first of all, I want to know, Robert, what's your very, very, very beginning of your basketball life? What neighborhood did you grow up in, and who was your basketball hero?
He done froze up.
Oh, he froze.
Oh, there you go.
Who was your earliest basketball hero, and what neighborhood did you grow up in?
Who, me?
Mm-hmm. Yes,
okay,
sir.
yeah, I grew up in Roseland. I'm from Roseland, south side of Chicago. My family moved out there in '66 when it was actually like the suburbs. And growing up out there, it was a lot of guys who could play. And there was one guy in particular in my neighborhood. His name was Mike Rags. A lot of people don't know who he is, but he was very, very good. He was a very, very good player. He was one of the best shooters I ever seen. And he cracked jokes, and then he barbecue after that. So he was just a great guy, man, and he helped raise me. Because I was a good street ball player, but he was like, man, if you could go to school, that makes you even a better person. So I went to school, but I didn't play in school, but I went and got an education.
I love it. Marcus, what neighborhood were you born into? And we know so much about your high school life, but what about the very beginning of your life?
Well, my parents are, my dad's from the West Side, and by the time I was 3 years old, we moved to the South Side, the Hilliard Projects on the low end, and they put the ball in my hands. My dad's the one that put the basketball in my hands, and I had 2 older brothers who had like mad game. So those were my heroes. Those were my two brothers who I looked up to, and I felt that had the chance and opportunity to do something with it, but they didn't take advantage of it.
And then how about as far as kind of the stars of that time? I'm thinking back, that must have been what, the mid-'70s, kind of when you were probably first aware of some of the stars. Who are those big names that kind of caught your attention in the city?
Well, in the city, I mean, I used to always hear about Billy the Kid Harris, growing up, and Sonny Parker, you know, Bo Ellis, some of those, Mark Aguirre, of course. I used to hear those names all the time, Isaiah Thomas. Never saw them really in person play, but, you know, you just hear it, you know, hear their names a lot. So, you know, they were the street guys that had their name and that rep, you know. So when you want to, you know about Chicago history back then, those are the names that was being mentioned a lot.
Lib, it's funny you mention that because we've been on this show and a lot of times we go talking about guys who don't get enough credit that's from Chicago, and you just brought up Bo Ellis.
Oh,
you know, we wouldn't even thought about that or that name because it's not something that people talk about all the time, which he was one of our best players to ever play in the state of Illinois.
That's
but
right.
Probably don't get the credit that he deserves because we have forgotten and his name is not ringing like that where, you know, we kind of like talking about him. So it's kind of good you brought that up because we've been searching for people like, where's this person at and what is this person doing? And by you saying Bo Ellis, that just rung a bell in my head. Like he coached at Marquette and he coached at these places and all. He was a good guy as a basketball player, great player, and he was a great coach too. So it's just funny you brought his name up. And it's something that we've been trying to do is research and see guys that we had forgot about.
That's
you know,
right.
we forgot these guys and how good they were. We just forgot about them. I mean, Billy the Kid, his name has not came up on this podcast, but we all know he's a Chicago legend. You know what I'm saying? But we haven't brought it up because we're just trying to figure out and remember these guys. But I'm glad you did that. I'm glad you brought those guys up.
Yeah.
So before we get into some of the, I want to ask about the connectedness of everybody on this podcast here. But before that, I just want to know about All Ball. What was the idea? Who came up with the idea, and how did it snowball? Because I'm just such a big fan of what you guys are doing. What's the genesis story for your show?
Well, Robert Reed, he came. He actually had another guy in mind, right? I was his second, you know, choice. You know, but all in all, he told me he wanted to do a show, a podcast, you know, and he said, I need you here in Chicago. I said, dude, with technology now, you don't need to be in Chicago to do this, you know? And he said, no. I said, no. He said, all right, I need you then, big dog. So I said, all right, let's do it, you know? And then we just start bouncing off names, and we came up with All Ball Chicago. But then, you know, how we came up with the format was, we wanted to be positive. I said, let's go get some, you know, some old and new flavor who played basketball from CPS, from some of my buddies that I, you know, reached out to that played basketball in the NBA. I said, I want them to come on and share some knowledge of the game of basketball. We're not going to ask no hard questions and all that stuff because we don't want them to be thinking about other things. We just want them to talk about and let it be natural. So we started All Ball Chicago. And Rob is my hype man. So Rob gets on there and he's like, man, you know, if you guys listen to it, he brings it, you know, and he also knows the game of basketball. So we kind of work good together because I'm more laid back and he's got that energy.
And Lib always dials me down after we get off, like, hey man. Lib always dial me down after that. But the fun part of it is that I'm doing a show with a legend, you know what I'm saying? And the guy, I did not know that he was so positive. I mean, Marcus Liberty, man, I did not know the relationships that he had out here. I didn't know how much people loved him. I'm like, damn, dude, everybody love this dude. You know what I'm saying? So I credit the success of the show to Marcus, man, the ground that he's laid for himself. And then I just, I'm Robin, man. It's Batman, you know? I'm cool with that. You know, I'm cool, and I tell him that all the time. Bro, the show go because of you, the big dog. I know my role. And then everybody needs to know that, man. And that's what it is.
Yeah.
And it's kind of cool because you guys get the Chicago natives, but you also have like Artis Gilmore, who played basketball and became famous in the city. Now, here's a crazy small world story. So I just got off the golf course. I played with Artis's agent, who lives in Danville. Amazing guy. and Doug Barnett. And then I also played with Marcus, a guy that you played against when he was at Purdue, named Ryan Burning. He said he guarded Nick Anderson back in the Purdue-Illinois clashes. So
I remember.
crazy small world. Yeah, I literally just walked off the golf. That's where I took off my Under Armour polo to please Ty. That's what I was golfing in. But that's so cool. Well, Rob, would you like to, or our Rob, I needed to distinguish this time. Mr. Rob Smith, would you like to share some of the connections that this room has? What's your connection with Marcus?
Well, just from basketball. A lot of guys from my neighborhood went to King, and he was around in the neighborhood with those guys playing at LeClaire, over at Lavertus Robinson House all the time, and Chris Harris with those guys. So just through basketball and watching him play, watching a guy, because I never got a chance to see Ben play, actually with my own eyes, but I did get a chance to see Lib play, and they were so similar that people said that they played so much alike, and people was always saying, if you see Marcus play, then you kind of saw Ben play. They kind of played similar to each other. And just to see us, a 6'7", 6'8" guy be able to handle the ball and pass, it was, that's only Magic Johnson at that time that we thought, we thought that was the only person that could do that. So that's my where I first met him at, and then we worked camp together a couple times, and him and Nick brother Lance stole my shoes. Marcus told me to come down for lunch, and Lance went up and stole my shoes.
No.
That's how far y'all go back, huh?
Yeah.
Lanny, huh?
Yeah, they stole my shoes, man. We was working at camp and they stole my shoes, man. Him and Lance stole my shoes. I couldn't believe it, man. It's a funny story though, cause we was working camp for Nike. We was working camp for Nike, and some kind of way some kids went in there and stole all the kids' stuff. They stole they was stealing their iPods. It had to be somebody from the community, because they knew when we were leaving, we was coming back. Cause once we left the dorms, everybody left. So I go back to my room and I'm like, they ain't take none of my stuff. I had a brand new pair of shoes that I brought with me, but the box was still there. I never checked the box. I just see that the box is still there. So it's the day that we're getting ready to pack to go home. I go up, I'm going up to pack, and I grab my box, and there's nothing in it. I come back downstairs, but they stole my shoes. Liv and Lance laughing so hard. They just... Oh man, it was so funny, man. It was funny, but that was, we had a great, that time that we spent together at camp is how I really got to know him as a person, not as a basketball player, because it's funny, we were adults and we had to go back to our living in the dorms.
Yeah.
And she lived 6'8". He can't sleep in them beds. So me, him and Lance, we had this thing that we would stay up until we couldn't stay up no longer. We'd just pass out. So when we got to bed, it didn't even matter. We thought we was in the king size bed because we'd be so tired. So, and then Rob, he went to Simeon, and Melvin Nunn is really good friends with him. So I'd seen him a lot and around basketball, and we really never had a chance to sit around and chop it up like this, but just people always speak high of him, of what he does, period, and those type of things. And he went to Simeon, so he's family. So that's the most important thing.
Absolutely.
And then my connection with Liv go way back. I might well say when I was in diapers. Right. I've been knowing Liv forever. Liv is diapers. Liv is my brother. I've been knowing him forever, and I used to grow up watching him play, and I always wanted to watch him play when it was time to go. Like him and Lance used to, like we was talking about this story. Him and Lance they played in the same summer league. It was at Avalon. And I always just say, is Liv playing? I go watch if Liv play. Liv always used to come by the house and spend time with the family and, my grandmother, my mom and dad, and, played in the backyard. He taught me a thing or two. every time he used to come over, I used to be like, Liv, can you take me to hot spot, man? I need
I was our spot.
Yeah. So, man, I grew up watching Liv, and, you know, I always consider Liv a brother, and, you know, always been there for me. And still to this day, that's why I always say they need to do more about Marcus in a whole, because he did a lot for the city of Chicago and the state of Illinois. He did a lot for him, and just his presence around will help a lot of people in general, because his knowledge of the game is crazy. Not only he was a good ball player, he was a good person, good family man, and everything. He just all around great person.
And he stayed at home too. You know, as we know, he could have went to any school in the country.
Yeah.
You know, and at that time, he and those other guys, I'm not just going to Nick and Irvin, they all stayed at home, and they wanted to make Illinois, you know, a powerhouse, you know, and when I first started coaching, Coach Hamrick was real big on that, you know, on guys staying at home and making our hometown be the best, you know. Right. Why are we cheering for North Carolina to win a national championship and not Illinois to win one? Right. You know, those are the things that we that's what he was preaching to me when he was going like, hey, why won't we send the kids to Loyola so they can be dominant? Why we have to send them to all these different places? And I know everybody can't go to all the schools that's here. And now the way, you know, other guys are pitching stuff to guys to go to other schools and stuff, we have to, here in town, we have to do a better job of pitching to guys to stay at home. You know, we have to do that. Do they want to stay at home? Probably so, because they want to play. These kids are so around their families so much. Right. They want to still probably be around their families, but they're not getting pitched to right to stay at home, you know. Right. And I think, well, of course, you know, they did a great job with you guys of keeping y'all guys home. They, you know, they pitched a great thing, and look where it took us to. You know what I'm saying? You know, look where it took us to. We was on top for a good while. You know, did we win it? No, but we was somebody that they were talking about every year. You know, now that it's, you know, we don't get that as much. And Nick got off. He had to get off for a second, but y'all had him on the show, and y'all could tell his PR person got his vocabulary highs. He out there. So when he jump on, if he's saying some stuff and y'all like, man, that's Nick talking. He got his thing together now, baby.
Oh wow.
So I mean, you talk about making it an attractive place, and you know, it's interesting to see. I cover Illinois. You know, I'm at all the press conferences, all the games, and even as high as things are right now, the most energy I've seen in that building in the 10 years or so I've been around the program was when Marcus came back 2 winters ago for the Flying Illini reunion, and the crowd just went bonkers. What was that like, Marcus? What was that whole weekend like? Because I know you bump into, you know, Kendall was in the city, and you see some of the guys, but what was that weekend like for you to have that big reunion?
It was special. I mean, going back to see some of the fans, some of the faces that look familiar to you, and just seeing the crowd, you know, cheering us on. And when we go back and come back, that 1989 team was special, you know, so each and every one of us played a part in helping that team be successful. So when they call out your name, of course they're going to cheer because they remember that. 1989, Seattle, Battle to Seattle, Kenny Battle, Nick Anderson, myself. And like Rob said earlier, we were all pretty much from CPS, you know, Chicago Public School. And to get that to, you know, happen, I don't really know how it actually happened, but it happened. You know, we didn't all sit down and plan like you see the guys now planning what school they want to go to and team up. We didn't sit down and talk like that. You know, it had a lot to do with Coach Collins, the relationships that we had with him and how he, you know, demanded respect. He was almost like a father to us. So when we saw him come recruit and the way he was talking to us, we believed everything he was telling us. So when we get down on campus, it was a win situation. But I say this to say, guys, and I always tell my kids this too when I talk to them, like, get to know the head coach. You know, one thing I wish I would have got to know Coach Henson a little bit more so I can know what he was all about. And vice versa. He should have came to my house, my home, and got to know my family to see what my family was all about. And I just didn't get that. So I talk about that sometime on my podcast, on our podcast, All Ball Chicago, about that get to know your head coach, talk to them, communicate, see what they all about. And if it's not a good fit, then don't go.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But you got a new thing that you got coming out. You can go ahead and tell us about that with the social distancing.
Yeah, man, I got a device. It's actually I was actually one of the finalists to be on Shark Tank. This was around last year, end of last year. I made it to the video submission, so I was almost on the show, but I didn't sell enough units. So it's a coaching device. It's an amplifier. It's a waist amplifier. It hangs on your waist, and then it's a headset. And basically, it amplifies your voice 500 square feet. Liv, you got that thing right there? So basically, it just hooks to your belt. It's very light, and then that's the headset. It just goes over your head, and instead of doing all the excess screaming, you can turn it up, turn it down, amplifies your voice up 500 square feet. I plug with this company. I'm actually an agent for this company. They actually trying to get that out here, especially with the social distancing part.
Right.
If anybody interested in it, just hit me up, inbox me. They start at $125, but you know, if you get it within the next 30 to 60 days, they're willing to drop the price to $99, and that covers shipping and handling. So it's just a great device, man, especially with the way that they doing the social distance piece. So
Marcus, that's a good
Well,
model.
but I have a question for you. Rod. So it's up to 500 feet?
500 square feet.
Square feet. So let me ask you this. Does it censor bad words? I'm just want to know. Will it clean up bad words?
It will not censor bad words.
Oh, okay.
Well, you good, Slaughter. You good.
Okay,
Hey, Coach.
okay.
Hey, Coach, they hear it anyway. I think they've heard every word anyway.
Okay. Yeah, well, yeah, definitely. Can you give us some information on how we can contact you about it?
Yeah,
I
just
definitely get one.
Just reach out to me, man. Actually, I don't mind. My email, man, you can hit me up at equitysavings@yahoo.com, or you can hit me up at chicagomillion@aol.com. I'm still holding on to that. Or you can hit me up on Facebook.
Just inbox Rob and let Rob, send it out to, the guys.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, so
that.
you can find me on Facebook, man. But I appreciate y'all bringing me on. Hey, man, 13 Rings, Liv. We should have stole that name. Why we ain't thinking that, Liv? That was a good name. But thanks for having me on, man.
You don't have no rings.
Hey, on that note, man, I got to get out of here, man. Go hang out with my spouse.
Before you go, we got y'all had Nick on. Me and Ty got to jump on the show.
Yeah.
We come on together. We can go separate, however y'all want to do it. We want to support you guys too. When Gordon and Nick called us about doing this, it's the time we was really social distance, so we kind of was like, oh, we at the crib anyway. It's cool to do. And after stuff started letting up, we still like, no, we got to continue to do this. You know what I'm saying? So even today, we normally don't do this show until Saturdays, but tomorrow's the 4th. It's gonna be some stuff going on. Let's get on Friday, just so that this can continue to go on. And we respect what you guys are doing. I do watch it. With all the people on there. And it's good for our city. It's something that we need.
Right.
We definitely need that. And you guys are doing a great job. I mean, I know we probably don't say that enough to each other, you know what I'm saying? But we have to do more of that and letting people know, how well a job people are doing in our communities and how they, impact the people's lives,
Yeah.
And you guys are doing a great job with that, man.
Thanks,
I appreciate
Yeah,
it.
for sure.
And me and Ty are definitely get with some other coaches and try to help get that thing out. We might sit you down in the Zoom with some people because me and Ty got that, and you can, talk about it or whatever, just to help, get it going, because that's what we all about,
Yep.
Man, I appreciate that, Coach Rob. And this is all about Chicago, man. And I love y'all, man. Hey, Coach, man, y'all doing big things. 13 Rings. Liv, I don't like that joke, man. I don't like that, Tim. I love y'all, man. Y'all be good, man.
All right, happy anniversary.
Thank you, man. Thank you. God bless y'all, man.
Don't spend that money, man.
Hey.
Hey, what? His comeback should have been, I've got the only ring that matters.
He wouldn't.
No,
think
I
that.
have one. I have one of those, but it's more like a ball and chain, not a ring. But go ahead, we'll keep this going.
But no, guys, that's what you was congratulating us, but I want to congratulate you guys as well, because now I think with 13 Rings, you guys are actually giving people you know, the inside of you guys. They're getting to know you, meaning the parents, the uncles, whoever it may be, because you guys are recruiting kids, or not, I can't say recruiting, but you guys are getting kids, right, to come play for you, and you building that relationship with the kids. But this show is helping everybody see who Ty Slaughter is, who Robert Smith is, who Nick Irvin is. So they're getting that opportunity to see, because sometimes I know y'all practice is probably closed to a lot of parents, so they're like, man, I can't even see my baby. You know, I know Slaughter be screaming and yelling and blah, 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 blah. I know Nick be all energetic. I know Rob do this. They don't get the opportunity to see none of that. So now they're getting the chance to see Slaughter is not a bad dude. Slaughter's a good coach. Slaughter's a good dude. You know, how he motivates his players is totally up to him how he does. But now they get the chance to see it. So I appreciate this.
Yeah, and I think one of the things that we talked about, I think from the very onset when we started this, was exactly that. People have an opportunity to see us in a completely different light than what you normally would, because when you think about it, when do people outside of our own really have an opportunity? That's, you know, it's that a real shot of who we really are. And I think you all were talking about Lib, and Robert is gone now. Robert is kind of like me. I didn't play. I just was a fan of the game. I was around the game. And I go back to when Marcus was a player. I would tell people he was the embodiment of what a superstar looked like, performed like, and the way he carried himself. And, you know, and like I said, I wasn't a part of the basketball world like, say, Nick, and I didn't come from basketball royalty like Nick did, but I was around the game and I saw the game, and I have a pretty keen eye of what good basketball players look like. And I just always say to myself, I go back to that. I said, if only Marcus had stayed one more year, he would have been a Hall of Famer in the NBA. That's what I said. Now, I'm not as smart as these other guys, but I said just one more year. Maybe it was part of my desire to see Illinois continue to do well, but I just believe that if Marcus had stayed one more year, man, he'd have been a superstar. Now, I'll say this. I had an opportunity to see a really, really young Marcus in the offshoot of his nephew, JAVON. And it's so amazing. My principal, Dr. Kenner, was Marcus's assistant principal when he was at King. And she would always say, every time I see JAVON, I see Marcus. He reminds me so much of Marcus. And I said, you know what, not the funny part, but the ironic part was that was the same way I saw JAVON. And you know, and it's really amazing when we see young people today have an affinity for their fathers and other black males. JAVON loves Marcus. I mean, and I say that, you know, we all say we love you and they love that. No, JAVON loves Marcus. He loves Marcus. And I think in large part, I remember a game, and Marcus may remember it. He came to watch us play. He had come into town one day to watch us play. And JAVON was, my God, just terrible. Just terrible. And, it was unbelievable. It was a playoff game. We won the game, and JAVON was just devastated in the locker room. And all the coaches and everybody was trying to figure out what the heck is going on with JAVON. And he wouldn't talk, and he was all silent. And I'm trying to figure out what's going on. And I said, you know what it is? I know exactly what it was. JAVON loved Marcus so much that he did not perform well. And I never asked him this. I never asked him. You probably talked with him about it. He was so devastated about what he perceived as maybe letting Marcus down that he couldn't even be happy about the win. And I just say that says so much about the person that Marcus is. And I've had the opportunity to listen to him on podcasts. I've heard him on different things. And it's amazing when we hear a guy that was so great as a basketball player, but is even a greater person now after the basketball player. And I'm with Robert. You need to get back to Chicago. You need to come back to Chicago, because we need your positivity in Chicago. So I just wanted to say that. But yeah, one more year, just one more year. One more year. I could have seen it, boy. I could have seen it.
You think Liv finna give up that son?
Hey, I want to get that son up. He ain't doing that.
You know what? Man, you don't know where to go.
I know, but we can keep hoping, guys. We can keep hoping.
Man, Liv love that son out there, boy.
But my heart,
it's hard.
My heart's still in Chicago, though, man.
Yes, sir.
No doubt. You know, and Slaughter, I appreciate that, what you had, you know, when you was talking about me, man, because JAVON is like that. You know, JAVON, that's why I think me and him connected so well, because I was a quiet kid growing up, you know, didn't talk that much, you know, and JAVON was kind of similar to me. And I had told JAVON, I said, JAVON, you must start opening up. You know, I can't call Slaughter all the time. You know, you gotta go in there and talk to Slaughter and open up a little bit so Slaughter can get to know you, you can get to know him, and then y'all gonna have a wonderful relationship. And then it finally came, you know, as he gotten older, it finally came. Like now, JAVON doesn't even call me as much, you know. He's like, I'm happy, you know, I made the decision to come back home, play for DePaul. The kid he's ready. He's ready to go hoop right now.
And I'll tell you, especially when the new LeBrons came out or the new Kobe's came out, he always called when those came out. It was no problem. He knew how to communicate with me then.
Oh,
he loves his shoes. Oh no, he loves his shoes.
Yes, he does.
And really, and JAVON and I have a tremendous relationship to this very day. I stay in touch with him. He'll call just out of nowhere, and just a phenomenal kid. And I see tremendous greatness in him in his future. I think the best basketball for him is clearly ahead of him now. You know,
I
so
agree.
and he had a phenomenal game in the state championship against Rob. I didn't mean to bring.
Okay, it's fine. It's fine. Hey,
I just thought about that. That's
he sure did. He sure did. He had some really good games against us every time we played, for the most part. And you could tell him he took the challenge. You know, Nick had some kids as well who did that. When you coaching, now you look at certain kids and you could tell that they taking the challenge. You know, they looking at that Simeon jersey and they know the history of it. And they like, I'm going at the history plus the people that's on the court right now. You know, and JAVON was a great player, great kid, always speaks when you in talks, and you know, I got a lot of respect for him as a player, you know, and as a person. You know, and it's not just about the basketball part; it's the way you carry yourself on and off the court, and that's what our kids need to model. They need to look at people like him and other people that's doing the same thing and model themselves behind that. That's what's going to get you far in life. Period. It ain't the basketball. How far are you going to go? We don't know that. But just in life, you want people saying positive things about you, while you're growing up to be an adult,
Right.
Because that's just going to carry over.
And you know what? And I actually wanted to say something too.
Are we losing?
One of the things a lot of kids, I think one of the things a lot of our kids fail to do is actually they're doing on social media. And I just wanted to throw a shout out to passes on to Adam. Put some things out there over the last month or so, be it for the shot clock or even with things that are going on. And all of the things that I put out there. And again, I give him an awful lot of credit. And lift his voice to it and say,
He's talking to Adam Miller.
Yeah, he breaking up.
Yeah, I mean, how many? I made Adam.
I'm sorry about that. I don't have a nice headset like Marcus.
You're in R2D2 mode today.
Oh, I'm sorry about.
No, you're good.
No, and then another thing about JAVON, man, he always been a great kid, and you did a great job with Lib. His mom did a fantastic job with him as well, and I consider him family, because we family, you know what I'm saying, at the end of the day. But one thing about him, he always been humble, he always been respectful, and his approach to the game was always good. He always find a way to put his imprint on the game. But besides the basketball piece, he's a phenomenal kid. He the way he interact with people, the way he you know, just carry yourself in general, man. That's a testimony to what you did to him and how you taught him, and, you know, how his mom taught him and everything. And, Steve used to bring him around all the time, even though he played on the other side of us, but, he always was around. He was always with us. And, man, we consider him, as family. And, it's a number of guys out here like that as well. But Lib, not only did you do it with him, when we used to see you on the road, you did it with our guys too.
Right.
We always used to tell you, hey, talk to these guys for us, and just give them some knowledge, and you did it, and that's one thing about you. You're going to give somebody some knowledge, and you're going to give somebody the words of encouragement and tell them like it is. And that's one thing I love about you. Now, you going to give people to it straight, and then they also got to respect what you're saying.
Yeah, that's huge, Nick, because when we was working Elite 100, I want to say Moutier was at Camp Dan, right?
Yeah.
And Moutier would sit with us, and Bobby Portis.
Yeah.
It could have been Bobby Portis too. They would sit with us at lunch, breakfast, lunch, and dinner, just trying to soak up the knowledge from Liv, just soaking it up, just getting it. Every day, all day. You know what I'm saying? When we come back, did you see me play? How did I do when I was playing? What do I need to change? And those are the things that I thought was great about, that's what I think is great about that campus, that it's before they really get to know who they are, and they trying to figure it out. They trying to figure out how good I am or how good I possibly can be. So that's huge for us. But we have to use you, for what you got, your knowledge and understanding of the game. When we first got on, you was talking about how you played for 4 years and guys don't know what to do after that. That's crucial, man, because you could go crazy after you play basketball your whole life, and now it's gone from you.
Yeah. Yeah. Now, Rob, I'm telling you, Rob, I talk about that all the time, man, because I think I can help some people, especially, us former athletes who been bouncing that ball pretty much since you were 6 years old, a lot of us, right? And I'm talking about constantly, not nonstop, because you truly love the game, and I say this to a lot of kids. I say, either you love it or you like it, If you love something, you're going to continue to do whatever it takes to be successful and good at it, no matter what. Yeah. So if it's snowing outside, so be it. I'm out there going to hoop. I'm going to do what I need to do, right? But this generation of kids, and no knock on them, it's just different. They different, but back to the question that you were just talking about of how athletes, when they stop playing, they don't know what to do. Because they've been playing basketball for so long. It's like a marriage. So now that marriage is over, it's a divorce. Now what I do? Do I go search and find or seek something else and get addicted to it? Or do I really sit down and say, you know what? I got to find my lane. So I got to reinvent myself. And a lot of us don't know how to reinvent ourselves. The same way you practice and did all that stuff, it's something else you can tie your energy into and do the same thing. Right. You got to find out what it is. And I think that's what a lot of athletes get stuck at. They don't know what it is.
Right.
Yeah.
And so
that is true.
How have you filled that void in a healthy way now that you're in Florida? I know there's going to be a lot of Illini fans and a lot of Chicago fans watching this. I wonder, what's Marcus up to? And more than just the Googling, we can see the biographical stuff, but how in more of a holistic or spiritual way have you been filling your time with worthwhile things?
Well, I started a basketball program called Liberty Edge, and the edge was to give kids the edge, So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna give them the edge before it happens. I'm gonna tell them things and show them things before it happens. So I started that program, and I got a travel ball team. Not trying to go get elite players or anything like that. Just give kids a safe place to play basketball and learn the game of basketball for myself. I also have the great Dick Vitale down here. So Dick Vitale comes every now and then to speak to some of the kids. So I'm doing that. And I also go out and speak to high schoolers and to high schools about, my upbringing in Chicago. And a lot of them, they be shocked when I tell them the story about how that basketball got put in my hands when I was little, playing in the snow and shoveling snow and going out and playing, mimicking Magic Johnson, thinking I was Magic Johnson. You know, now they can just go to YouTube and just do it. We didn't have computers. We didn't have computers all that back then. You know, it was the television. You know, it was like, man, Magic just did that move. All right, I got to remember that move. So when I go outside downstairs, I got to go do that exact same move. Now they can take it on their phone, look at it right here, just put it right there and say, oh, okay, I saw that move. I got it. Pause it, and then go back and do it again. I didn't have to do that. So I had to remember what I saw and then go out there and try to implement what he just did.
So is that your number one kind of person you patterned your game after was Magic early on?
Magic, I had a little bit of Magic Johnson and Iceman. I like George Gervin.
Man, George Gervin, man. Liv used to finger roll from the free throw line.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
Nick,
I used to watch.
Cut you off, Marcus. Nick,
What'd you say?
Is there any way you could change your background?
Yeah,
I need to change my background.
That was actually
no trophies and rings back there. I mean, your 4 fingers
that
up.
was
I
a problem for
that the whole time.
Thank you, I appreciate it. I was going to
did that for Ty.
You did that for Ty?
Yeah, that was for Ty right there, man. Let him know, man. You third in charge, Ty.
Unbelievable. But I can tell you this. I have a chance to beat those 4 rings. I got a chance to beat those. You don't anymore.
Oh,
you done with us little boys. You know?
Hey, you definitely gonna shout at that, man. I go ahead. You can have it.
You know what? I actually have a question for Liv while we've got him on here.
Yeah.
Hey, who was the best player against in high school in the past, and see if it's some of the. It could either been on your team or a guy that you played against in high school in Chicago.
So you were breaking up on some of it. So
I mean, he said the best player you ever went up against in high school.
yeah, man, I'd say this. I say this a lot, man. It was Walter Bond. Walter Bond was one of the toughest players that I've played against in high school because he was my era, of course.
Yeah.
And then Keith Stallings at Dunbar High School was another one. Another one that doesn't get the credit that they deserve, but those guys played hard on both ends. Every time I faced them, I knew it was going to be a battle. I knew it was going to be a war. So those would be the 2 players, Slaughter, that I got mad respect for. But I got a lot of respect for a lot of hoopers came out of Chicago. I never looked over anybody. So when I laced them up, I was like, I'm ready to play. So no matter who was in front of me or what team it was, of course, playing against Simeon, you know, back in the day, everybody was talking about Simeon. So I was like, I had that extra, you know, motivation when we played against Simeon to say, you know what, King, we can't keep losing it to them, you know. So, and Rob, I'm sorry.
I know what that's like, Liv. I've been there before.
Yeah.
So Rob, I say this.
Not every year. Not my God. Not every year.
So Rob, I say this, and I tell people this all the time. I say, man, I never lost to Simeon. I'm 3-0 against Simeon, right? So when Slaughter started talking about JAVON, I told JAVON, I said, man, you can't let the family down, man. We got to keep it going.
Yeah. Man. Can't let them down like that.
Oh man, but Chicago basketball in general, man, with you guys doing what you were doing for Chicago basketball, I have mad respect, man, because y'all continue the legacy of Chicago basketball. So when people go out and see Adam Miller or DJ Stewart or Rob got your boy Taylor Horton, even when they see those guys, they like, man, what school you went to? I mean, Simeon and Whitney Young and Morgan Park is nationally known. So people all around the country know about Simeon and Morgan Park and Whitney Young.
So we talked about that too. And I was telling I stated on here what a great job Ty and Nick did with making their programs be national programs. I kind of was thrown into a situation that was already pretty much established. you know, and people really knew about Simeon for the most part because of Benji and the death of that. Of course, I think I did some other stuff of making it be a national program where it's respectable throughout the country. But these guys took schools that were not at that level and had no notoriety for that part of basketball and put it out there where everybody knows about it. So that's really huge for them, you know, and what they've done with the coaching part and getting their players to be able to be really good players to be talked about and ranked in the country and just follow. That's a really big thing for them. And I think we talked about that a couple of weeks ago on here. And it's funny you brought up Keith Stalling. We go to the same barbershop. And he and it's funny because, you know, he talks about
you
basketball.
go to a barbershop. I'm just trying to.
Yeah, man, I got a son. I got to take him to the barbershop.
Okay, you take.
I get my hair.
No. And again, I just want to know, why were you going to a...
He supposed to be quarantining, huh?
I'm not now, boy.
He don't have any hair. I don't know what y'all...
I have to put money back in our communities, man. That's our problem. We want to sit... I mean, you know, I got to help the people out.
Okay.
Put money back in the community, man.
Okay.
What we doing.
And that's a good thing. Okay.
But
okay,
anyway,
go ahead with your thought.
So Keith never talks about him as a player.
Right.
I've never heard him talk about him as a player. He's always talking about the kids now and what he's seeing, but he never talks about him as a player. And when you brought up his name, it's funny because, like, I really never knew how good of a player he was because he's never talked about it. I've heard people say, oh, he could play or this, that, and the other, but he's never, you know, we're in a barbershop, so it's barbershop talk. But he's never talked about how good he was. I mean, I know he went to Ball State.
No, he was,
you know, I know that, but I never knew how
he could shoot that ball. He could shoot that ball.
So it was interesting. So when I see him, I'm gonna let him know. I was like, man, Lit was talking about you on the podcast on how tough you was, boy.
Hey, but you know what thing with him? He played hard though.
Yeah, he did.
Man, he played hard, man. And you know, I used to follow because I had to, because I had, you know, older brothers and I had, you know, y'all are following, so I had to watch him play. And he always played hard and always was aggressive.
But you know what? And you know what, too, guys? Like, I talked to Keith Stalling and they beat us. Dunbar beat us, right? But when we talk about, you know, not just you guys as coaches, we have intelligent players too. Like when we played against Dunbar, right? Keith Stalling was telling me what his plan was. Let Liberty get his. We stop everybody else. And it worked. You know, it worked, and they won the game. You know,
I was doing that to Nick all the time.
Yeah. Man, that's crazy. He did. Yeah. He was like, oh, man, go ahead. Let them get whatever they going to get. I'm going to stop everybody else. I said, okay. So, Liv, guess what I started doing? I started letting everybody else score. I said, man, everybody can score against Simeon, but, you know, not everybody else, man. You know, just this one particular game. Don't get greedy now.
Hey, you know what? I actually have a question. Remember we were asking what story you wanted to hear us talk about, and we have a perfect person to ask the question.
Yeah.
What is your take on I almost say the disappearance of King basketball? You all went from a storied program to now it's not even a conversation in the back.
Yeah, Slaughter. I agree with you, man. That somewhere somebody dropped the ball as far as bridging that gap to say, you know what, like Hambrick did with Rob and whatnot, to say, you know what, I'm going to leave this program, so I got to put somebody in place that's going to be the next, not Hambrick, but the next one that can make sure the program is in good standings. And I don't think, you know, when Cox left, maybe he had a bitter taste in his mouth about how it all happened. I don't know. I think if he'd had some of his peers or people that, you know, was up under him, some of his guys that he recruited and played, I think of Johnny Selby wanted to get in coaching. Fred Schofield was in coaching. Get some guys like that. Even myself, I would have came back and did something, but I think I was still playing when Cox actually stepped away, I think. But I think that's what happened, Slaughter. And once they changed the whole dynamic of that school into a magnet prep, whatever they call it, you know, educational. They got kids from all over busing to the schools. And then you have a principal who may not believe in the sports part of it. So I don't care about what they did before, you know, or before I got here. This is how the school is going to be ran. But you can't take down history. You know, history is history, you know, and when you have people like that to try to knock it down, you need somebody back in there to talk for what that program with that school was all about, man. I mean, it was a wonderful place, and I loved going to King High School. I loved a lot of the teachers. I respected a lot of the teachers that went there and taught us and gave us the knowledge that we needed, and to see it the way it's at now, not mentioning with the Simeons and the Whitney Youngs and the Morgan Clarks, it hurts my heart.
Liv, I got a question. Have you been back there? Have you been back over there?
You know, I went back to one of my friends, Hope. You guys know Hope?
Yeah.
Robert Hope.
Wait, are you talking about Hope Academy?
No. There's a guy named Hope that we call Hope. He had a program back in the day called Dynasty, and he had a camp there at King High School, and he asked me to come, and I went to it, and it just brought back so many memories, man, walking into that gym. And then when it was all over with, I left, you know, because I don't even know anybody that's, you know, at the school no more. I had said something one time. I said, and it wasn't nothing that like I was feeling like I was bigger than the school or anything, but man, you don't even have my jersey retired in here.
Your jersey ain't retired?
And no.
You know what? Hold on. Hey, Marcus, I was going to say, that is too bad that Nick is gone, because Nick will retire your jersey at Morgan Park. He's retired about 12 years already.
Hey, 30 would never be worn again. 30 won't be worn in over here.
I don't even know what number the kids at Morgan Park are going to wear now, because every number retired over there. I mean, my God. So he and you know, all joking aside, but the fact that your jersey is not retired is almost criminal.
Right.
It's almost criminal. It's almost criminal.
Yeah.
It's almost criminal.
We gonna sign a petition after this.
So you know what?
That's not almost criminal. It's not almost criminal. It is. That's a crime.
That's a crime.
So you know what's gonna happen now? I'm gonna go on Twitter and I'm gonna start the retire Marcus Liberty
hashtag
30.
retire Marcus.
There you go.
Hey,
I'll be
Marcus.
on that this afternoon. I'll be on that this afternoon.
Yeah.
When he go on Twitter and put it on there, somebody gonna call you. Today is Friday. It's the holiday. You'll get a call back Tuesday.
Monday, Tuesday.
I mean, really, that is criminal though, not to have your jersey retired at King. That's just ridiculous.
So Liv, your number, Jamie Brandon number ain't retired?
Alfred Winters, Tracy Dill.
Alfred Winters?
No.
So Ty,
Okay, now hold on. We can't retire everybody's number. My God. What do we say? Just retire the whole program number. Yeah, we got
Live first then.
And I'll come back to it, you know, whatever game it is and all that. I had put that out there before, but I did it with the old athletic director, Lonnie Williams.
Right, okay.
I don't know what happened with that situation because he was more football, you know, he was on the football side of things. But yeah, if you can make it happen, Slaughter.
No, we about to make it happen. We about to get it done, man.
But Ty has an insight because he has Dr. Kenner, and she know what you meant to that school.
Right.
You know, and I think if Ty would go, I mean, if Ty could go in and have a conversation with her, I'm pretty sure she can call over and talk to the principal over there and say, hey, look, you know, this is something that probably needs to be done, you know, on your behalf, because she know what you guys meant to that school. She does. She knows that. Yeah. She knows that.
And the reality, and again, I'm not, and by no means am I saying that anybody is right or anybody is wrong, but if I'm the coach and I'm at King and I come in there, I have to bring those guys back. I have to. If they may not want to come back, they may say, well, we're not coming back. But I'm going to do something. Well, no, I mean, they may decide they don't want to. But as a coach, I'm going to reach out in some formal way to try to get them back. I mean, it just, it makes no sense. And then when you look at the way Chicago is today, I would tell you that there's a whole slew of kids that with great academics, safe, nice environment, that also has a profoundly impactful basketball history. Again, I'm gonna stop right there, but I'm gonna do my job. I'm gonna run it up the pole.
Hey.
Yeah, because when I took over, I called Levi Cobb to come back to school. Come back to Morgan Park when I was there. Like, you got to call the veterans back, man, and reach out to them all the time. Though you got to do that.
But Lib, you gonna get it done because we was on this show and Ty was on saying how we need to get more black coaches. Nick got
I got in.
Stop that.
Now he's on this thing about a shot clock. We getting it, baby. We finna get this shot clock.
So you guys got the shot clock coming now?
Well, we working on
What do you think about
that? Yeah, we're
they're
working
gonna
on
get it done. Yeah, they're gonna get it done.
Would you support it, Marcus? What's your stance on a high school shot clock, assuming that all the financials would be taken care of? What's your thoughts on that?
Man, I'm all for it. And the reason why, you think about it, they going to college. They got shot clock, right? They got dreams of playing in the NBA. They got shot clocks. So these kids need to get used to. I think it also helps, the brain, because you have to think. You have to think fast, So no, I'm all for a shot clock, man. It might hurt some of the slower teams, because when you play slow teams, they don't want to run. But so be it. They got to start to find out the ways to get those fast offenses put in. Fast-paced offenses to put in. But no, I'm all for it, man. I hope and pray that it happens.
Yeah, Ty's really doing a great job with it. I mean, a fanatic. He's doing everything that you can possibly do to get it done. I mean, we was on a call yesterday with some coaches. We're gonna get on another one next week with some more coaches. But he is all into it, and it makes sense. Yeah. It makes sense for the game. It makes if we're saying this is the best basketball in the world, we gotta play like it's the best basketball in the world. So having a shot clock just makes us more advanced to being of holding us of what we're saying of being the best basketball in the world. It just holds us that. So that's something that I think we definitely need to do or definitely need to get. It's real important. Now, Ty brings this up all the time, and I think, are all the kids going to go to college? They're not. But the ones that are, they need to be used to it.
Yes.
I lost a game this year because I didn't know how to coach with the shot clock. It wasn't.
We didn't have a shot clock when I beat you. What are you talking about? What are you talking about? Oh, no shot. Oh, you were talking. Okay, my bad. No. I thought you were talking about that game. My bad.
Hey, we probably needed one.
Yeah.
We probably needed one. But when we went to Boston and played DeMatha, we had them beat. And we're up 5 or 6 points. We're like 3 minutes on the clock, and now I can't go into what I would normally do. I still have to play the game, and now I have to go in my mind on what are we going to run, what are we going to do, how are we going to do this, how we're going to approach it. And I had no clue, but the coach on the other end had a clue on how this thing was going to go. He knew that, hey, I got 6 or 7 more possessions no matter what's going to happen.
Right.
I'm not looking at it like that because I don't know how to coach it.
Right.
And it cost us the game. And I told the kids after of course, you guys did some stuff out there that help us lose, but I also did some stuff out there too because I got out coached because I didn't know how to coach the shot clock. Right. So I wanted them to know that this wasn't just on them; it was on me too. But like you said, and Ty's been preaching, it's just gonna make us better coaches to being able to use it. It's just gonna make us better coaches and make the kids better players.
Right.
Yeah, and it definitely need that in around the state of Illinois in general. In the public league, we play fast. You probably don't need no shot clock, but at the end of the day, you can manage a game down the stretch to get them ready for college. Because at the end of the day, you're gonna need to know how to manage the game with 2 minutes to go. You can't take bad shots like you was doing early in the game. You can't take, so it's give you time to think and process the shot clock. So I think getting a shot clock for the state of Illinois would be great. I think.
Yeah. I'll tell you this. You would actually be I know I was incredibly surprised by the guys that, like Rob was saying, we were on a Zoom call yesterday with 12 other coaches. And when you hear the names of some of the coaches that were on that call, and not only on the call, but they've also had thoughts about it. They've done some research on it. They've got some statistics that are for the shot clock. You would be surprised. And I think, as I tell people all the time, as coaches, we should ask our players. And you look at a lot of teams that like to play slow. If those coaches would ask their players, would they rather play with the shot clock? The overwhelming number of those players would say yes. I was telling some guys, if you go back over the history of NCAA, okay, and you look at some of the most amazing games that were ever played, it were teams that, in some people's perspective, were less talented than those big heavy hitters, and they took them all the way down to the wire. Why? Because it was a shot clock. They managed every possession. They were able to do defensively different things against that great talent, and they either had a chance to win or they won, and that is gratifying when you play the game. So, you know, with Rob and Coach Laventino and Coach Maloney, it's just a whole guys.
You had some good ones on.
Oh no, we've got guys from Rock Island. We have guys from
that's good.
We have guys from Springfield. We have guys from the Catholic League. We have guys from up north. We have Mike Ellis, who's a tremendous proponent of it. We have Mike Reingruber over at River Forest. I mean, it's just, I think its time has come. I just happen to be the one who started the conversation. By no means am I the brains, because everybody is smarter than me. I've got the loudest mouth, and I don't mind raising the alarm. I don't mind raising the alarm, and this is a fight that I'm on right now, and my next fight is we're gonna get number 30 in the Raptors. It'll either be at King or Morgan Park, but it's gonna be in the Raptors somewhere.
Hey, Crane, retire your freshman jersey.
Yeah, Crane need to do that too.
JV jersey.
Oh man, y'all be having a good time, man. I love it, man. I love it.
And then Nick, Lib, another thing is the way this started was great because people never thought that we would be doing this together. You know, them guys don't like each other, this, that, and the other, and it ain't gonna work, and you know, they just doing it just to be doing something. Now we at this point, people really starting to see like, oh man, that what they were saying ain't true. You know, that's
now wait. I might not be doing this much longer now. Look what Nick is doing to me. This is not right. I mean, come on. I mean, and you all throwing all them rings in my face now. I might not be doing this much longer, but go ahead. I'm gonna let you finish, Rob. I might not be doing this.
and it goes back to when I did the Chicago League Classic. You know, that's not gonna work. You know, them guys ain't gonna be able to do it. They don't like each other, this, that, and the other. First of all, y'all don't even know us.
Right.
Not at all.
You just see us coaching some basketball, and of course, we competitive against each other. We're not. No, Ty can't beat me. No, Nick can't beat me. You know, those programs, just like I know when they look across and see me, they like, he can't beat me. I can't let him win this game. It ain't the first we don't like each other. It's just we're competitive.
That's
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
My whole family know when we getting ready to play Morgan Park or Whitney Young, it's a whole shutdown. It's everything is shut down because I got the win, lose, or draw. I know I was prepared. That's all I know.
Yeah.
And everybody in this house was prepared too. They know what's going on.
Hey, they already know. Like when you coaching against them too, Liv, you like, man, I gotta strategize. I gotta be prepared. I gotta. You know, that helps your coaching out too, man. That get your coaching ready. So every time we play them, go ahead.
Well, I'm going to say, I know now I'm actually going to try to get Morgan Park on my schedule 3 times this year. I know now. I'm trying to get him. Look, you know what the kids used to say? I'm going to get my lick back. this year. People gonna say, wow, y'all beat Morgan Park. They're not gonna know that Nick not there.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say, yeah.
It's gonna be me talking. It's not even
the program might shut down the program, man.
It's all right.
Man, tough act to follow, baby.
It's like you said, Lib. It's not going to be an easy transition over there either. You know, coming behind Nick, that's not going to be an easy transition. It kind of would have been easy if he could have put somebody in place.
Yes, sir.
You know, who kind of knew what was going on to keep it going that way. But you know, we have some people who, you know, decide to do other things for other reasons, and that's their choice because they're in charge. But you know, to keeping that up to where it was at, it's gonna be hard. You know, I mean, that's even when all of us.
I don't care who's there. I'm gonna get my lick back. I'm getting my lick back. I don't care who there.
Hey, here's who would really keep that program going. Ready? Cindy. Hashtag
Cindy, keep it going.
Cindy Irvin.
Oh my God.
Hey,
not Cindy. Not Cindy.
Yes, Cindy.
Ty can't go after Cindy. He gotta let Cindy win.
Right. No, that's my friend. That's my neighbor. That's my neighbor, Cindy. I'm not gonna go after Cindy. No.
I'm the president of the Cindy fan club. That's for sure.
Hey, Rob, before I forget, when Liv was talking about when you said the transition, you took the program over from Hamburg and all that. But one thing you did, you kept it going. You know what I'm saying? Like they was winning, but you made sure they was winning. Like it wasn't a drop off. You kept it going, and it's still dominant to this day because.
But Nick, I don't think that program would have been like that if Rob wasn't there. If they would have brought an outside guy in to take over Simeon, who didn't know anything about the community, didn't know about the kids that was before them, that program wouldn't have fit. So Rob was in the perfect, he was the perfect fit for that.
The perfect fit, yep.
Because Rob knew all the plays. I mean, he still had the same plays. I mean, what are you talking about? The passing game, the mix match. I mean, he knew all the plays. It was just a continuum. but it is funny that people talk about that though. And I tell people, we talk about it on here all the time, Liv, because again, all of us want to beat each other. There's no debate about it. Every time we play, we want to beat each other. But I have incredibly mad respect for both of these guys. I'm so proud of Nick that he's made this transition to the big time. But I tell people whenever I talk to him, I say Rob is probably one of the smartest guys that I've met in a long time. People don't know him because he don't talk much. He looks mad. He got them big old glasses on. He had a cap over his head, so he don't come near you. He's walking kind of funny. But when you get to know him and you're in a room with him, incredibly bright. And I would tell you that's the same brightness that made him understand, why should I reinvent this wheel? And of course he put his own spin on it. He played freshman on the varsity. That didn't happen. But like anything else, time changes and circumstances changes. But I think the longevity of what they did, he continued to do it. And as a result of it, Simeon is still Simeon. You look at Morgan Park. Morgan Park has some good teams in the past and did some things. But the name Morgan Park did not ring like it did under the regime that was Nick Irvin. The game between Simeon and Morgan Park back in the day was a good game. It was a fun game. But when it became the Battle of Vincennes, and when Nick was the king of the city, and then Rob took over and became the governor. Oh man, the game got good then. I tell people all the time, I can now have practice on that day. I used to cancel practice to make it to the Battle of Vincennes. Oh man, I was gonna be there for
that one. Man, hey, Ty, what we call ours this year? What was the name of ours this year?
What was the name of ours? Can we not talk about that? Let's go to something else. Oh my God. That right there is the reason I might not be back on this program.
Hey.
They always want to bring up that negative stuff.
We told Marcus 1 hour. We're about to hit hour 30, so I want to be very his time. I do have one more question for you. Is we're all about shedding light on topics that don't get enough attention, and you talk about a guy who wasn't born in Chicago but dedicated 50 years of his life to Chicago. Is Jimmy Collins. He's been in the city literally since 1970 when he got drafted by the Bulls. there's a lot of Illini fans watching here today and people that interacted with them at UIC. What do we not know about Jimmy Collins? Because there's still some mystery around him. What's something you can offer to us, maybe a story or a side of him that most people don't know about Coach Collins?
Well, I remember Coach Collins talking about the recruiting. Well, when Coach Henson actually recruited him to come back to coach, be a coach for him at the University of Illinois. And he didn't really want to do it, because he was doing stuff in the city already with the community. I think he was like doing some probation officer, work.
Yeah, he was literally a probation officer.
Yeah, so he was doing work with kids, and he already had relationships with a lot of, inner city, connections. And so he didn't want to do it. And he said he thought about it. Didn't really want to get into the X and O part of it. So I think he told me, he said, I told Coach Henson, I said, if you let me come down there, if I come down there, I'm only going to go get you some dogs, meaning I'm going to get you some players. But I'm not trying to break down no videos. I ain't trying to break down no X and O's and all that. I'm going to go get you some dogs. You got to coach. And Coach Henson,
is that what Nick told? Is that what Nick told? He just. It sounds like the same thing that Nick told Jeter. Okay.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Page out of Jimmy Collins' book, man.
Yeah, I did.
I think he got a whole chapter. He got a whole chapter out of the book already.
Yeah.
So that was.
What percentage of that dynasty do you attribute to Jimmy Collins? Like, what percentage of your decision was about him?
Oh, 100%. 100%. The reason why I went to the University of Illinois, it wasn't about Coach Henson. It was strictly about Jimmy Collins. Now, was I happy to see the head coach come into my, high school games and watch me play? Yeah, every kid want to see the high school coach at the games. But I probably got 2 or 3 words out of him. Hey, Marcus, how you doing? Great game, right? Jimmy Collins is actually sitting down talking to me, man, boy, you put on the show tonight, man. And I'm like, man, Coach, yeah. And then when I see Coach Collins coming on the low end to hang out with me in the project, I'm like, man, he real. He the real deal. So when I felt that relationship, I was like, it's 100% I'm going to go there. Now, he would tell you I probably was the hardest one to convince to come to the University of Illinois because my heart was sold on Syracuse.
Syracuse, baby.
And Coach Collins is from Syracuse. It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
And Syracuse, they laid it out. They was like, man, you come here, you're going to do this, you're going to play in the Big East. And I was like, man, it sounds good, and they let me do a little shooting on the basketball court, when you wasn't supposed to do it at the time. I was actually shooting and hooping with some of the guys, man, and I was like, I like this. I'm coming to Syracuse. So I did a verbal commit. A lot of people don't know this. I'm going to put it in my book. But I did a verbal commitment.
You didn't tweet it out? You didn't tweet it out?
No. But can you imagine, though, back like the way it is now with the guys that was, I'm just going to say the Chicago guys that had that, like Ben Wilson, myself, we tweeting and all that stuff, man, you get 1 million to 2 million, 3 million likes.
Right.
But Slaughter, I always tell this, and I told JAVON this too before. I said, man, are you playing a game of basketball to get Instagram likes or Twitter likes, or are you playing the basketball because you truly love it and you want to do something with it?
Yeah. And it's funny you said that because we had Larry Wallace on the show 2 weeks ago, I think it was. And he's from your neighborhood, and he brought that up, that he said he saw coaches coming through and all that type of stuff. So he definitely brought you up when he was on the show.
Rob, my thing is, if you come down into the projects, recruit somebody, man, that means you really want that kid. I didn't see Lou Henson come down there. Lou Henson, even though I know he wanted me, I don't think he would have been welcome as much as the other coaches. I know Jimmy Collins came down there, Walt Hazard came down there, John Thompson came down there. Some of the coaches that was really hard on me, they actually came down and wanted to meet my father and got an opportunity to see my upbringing, which was, I thought was Hollywood. I'm like, the projects is like Hollywood, man. You see a bunch of characters in my project. You see pimps, you see superheroes, you see gangbangers, all type of people, man.
I've heard Nick has been going down by the projects. That's what I've heard. I don't know if that's true or not. But I heard Nick has been by the project.
Hey, I'm at home in the projects. Liv took me in there with Naughty by Nature one time.
Right.
If you hit on something earlier too, and we do have parents that watch this, and we do have kids who watch it, and we have other coaches who watch it as well. And you hit it right on the head when you said that the assistant coaches come in and the kids get to know them, but they don't really get to know the head coach.
Right.
And that's who they really need to know. And that's even with us. Guys don't really come in and sit down with us to figure out who we are and what we're looking for. So I kind of get my point guards a lot of time to come in and spend time with me because you're running my team, and you got to know what I'm looking for and what I'm trying to do and my vision. And I tell them all the time, if our point guards are good and they understand me, then we got a really good chance of winning the whole thing because you're going to understand what I'm trying to do. And I ain't got to be up every moment coaching the game, but you do got to get to know that head coach. And it's Nick, you in this world now, and those guys, they're gonna come at you and wrap their arms around you because you know them already. But they have to get in there with Coach Jeter and get to know him. They gotta do that. And me just talking to you and getting you're gonna have to let them guys know, like, hey, I got you no matter what. But you gotta make sure that he has you too.
So build a relationship with him as well.
Got to, because it's gonna be crucial. That he trusts them and they know what he's looking for and things like that. So that was huge when you brought that up earlier, Marcus, about that. And we just want people to understand, what we're trying to help them get to and what they need to do, because they don't know. They don't know. Parents don't know. Kids don't know. Like you said, they getting it for likes and, they getting it for saying, this coach came by my house or he called me or stuff like that. And that's not what it's about. Me and Ty talk about this all the time, and Nick can attest to this. We done met every coach in the country now. Yep. On whatever level. Coach Cal. We done met all of them.
Yeah,
they don't impress us anymore when they come around. It doesn't impress us anymore. That's not an impression for that. We did that. The first time when they came, we was like, whoa, he was in my gym, and I want to sit down. Now they come in, I don't even want to buy me. Because they just first of all, they ain't coming to get me. They coming to get somebody else.
And I tell people this all the time too, especially student athletes and parents. When college coaches are coming to recruit you, they got a script. All of them have a script. So and they master the script. Yeah. Sometimes they know how to tweak it a little bit to get it to say something that they really wanted to get their point across to somebody. But that's why I was telling Javon. I said, everybody who comes to recruit you, just listen to them. They all gonna sound the same. I want you to play for me. Man, you the man. I'm gonna put the rock in your hand. I will do this and do that. It's the relationships. Did that coach call you a lot? Did that head coach call you a lot? Did he talk to you? How did he really say he see you in his system? Or did you, Javon, do your homework? Did you go look up someone and say, Coach, send me some of your plays so I can see how you play? Because maybe, just maybe, I don't like the way you play. And then you can make a decision on which direction you want to go. Some of these kids get so confused about the name on the shirt, on the jersey, that, man, Michael Jordan played at North Carolina, but North Carolina might not be the school for you.
Right.
So I think we got to educate the kids on recruiting looks, and parents also, because if they start talking to you on the side and making deals, then do you really want to be in that school or that situation because you just pimp your son out?
Right. And me and Ty talked about this the other day.
Yeah, true.
Coach, a coach sent us a text message, and it said coach. And the text message he sent to Ty was the same text message he sent to me. And it just said coach, and we're different people. My conversation with him is not going to be the same conversation that Ty's going to have with him. That's just like with our players when they get letters. And people say, well, I still to today don't give the kids their letters. I don't give it to them because what I did was as I showed the kids the letters, two kids got a letter from the same school.
Yep.
I showed it to him. I said, read it. And I said, show him yours and you get his. And they was identical. Only thing was different was the name. I said, did nobody take time to do this? This is everybody got this throughout the country.
That's right.
Then now when I open it, and if this person then got written it out, you can have it because he took time to do this. You know, but if it's this same thing that they get and they just put it in there and just send it out to everybody across the country, you don't need to read that. You don't need to read that at all.
So I need to handwrite my letters.
Yeah,
it'd be nice.
and let me say this: if you send anybody in my program a handwritten letter that you didn't write, I will know it because I got your writing already. So I'm gonna have a handwriting specialist on it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah.
Oh man.
But I know Liv got to get ready to go for another thing. We appreciate you and Bobby getting on. I know Bobby had to go and do it. Man, this is all love. We can be on here for hours doing this because we love it. And we see, I mean, when we get on here, we know the people who true and true to it because the time can go so fast and you don't even know you're on here because you're just talking basketball on something that you truly, truly enjoy and love to do. So it can go fast. But we really appreciate you having you on. This was huge for us. Like I say, we need to link up so you can get me and Tyrone together or we can go on separate on you guys' show. We want to support you guys like you did us. Get back. So I just want to thank you for coming on, you and Bob.
Yeah, definitely, man. I appreciate it too. And we definitely got to get you and Slaughter on because we already had Nick, man, and Nick's went up on y'all already. Got one ring already.
Oh, come on now. There we go again with another ring. Nick is gonna have another ring. That's the second. But you know what? For me, Marcus, I'll tell you, like I said when I talked about JAVON, I've watched your career from afar, and I've watched you up close when JAVON came to Whitney Young. And you are a superstar as a player, and you are a Hall of Famer as a person and what you're doing now outside of the game. And for that, we are incredibly proud to say that you're part of this family and you're part of the Chicago basketball family. I'm going to do two things. I'm going to work on getting that 30 up. I'm going to get 30 up. And we're going to have you come back, and we're going to have you because of who you are. We're going to ask you to do us a PSA for the shot clock that we're going to play. Because we're going to have a bunch of celebs doing some PSAs that we're going to put out on social media. And now that we know that you're a tremendous proponent of the shot clock, we're going to use you. Now, and as I said, if we can't get your jersey up at King, come on over to Morton Park. It'll be hanging over there.
Todd, you know what else we should do?
Wait, hold on. Now, this is where Rob tells me what we're about to do. Go ahead, Rob. I'm listening.
We're here. I'm just throwing out an idea, man. That's all. We probably should bring them back.
I thought about that.
For the classic.
I thought about that. Yep.
So
I was going to do that offline, but okay.
Okay.
Great minds think alike. Good job, Rob. I'm so proud of you.
And
You're one of the smartest guys I know.
and then, Liv, man, I appreciate you too. You know, we family for life. You my big brother, man. I love you, man. And you know, I just appreciate you coming on and letting everybody hear your knowledge of the game and hear you and know you as a person.
Right.
Because not only was you a great basketball player to me and one of my favorites, you was also a great, you know, brother to me and always gave me advice. Still to this day, you give me advice, and I always follow your lead no matter what, man. And I just want to say appreciate you, man. Love you, man.
Love you too.
But you know what, Nick, real quick, I'm disappointed in you, Nick. I really am. We have done a whole show with a Illinois great, and not one time have you said he was a bad boy. He was a bad boy. Hey,
Marcus Liberty was a bad man.
He has now been blessed.
Yes, sir. He arguably could be the #1 player to ever come out of the state of Illinois.
That's a bad boy there. That's a bad boy there.
Boy.
You could definitely have that argument, you know, as him being one of the best or the best to come out. That wouldn't be bad. Yeah. I mean, you can match him up with whoever name you want to say. Whatever name you want to throw out there, you can match that name up with it. And people can argue who is who, and when you say the name, they gonna say, oh yeah, he could be one. You know, you can't just throw out anybody's name in this town.
So Rob, when you take your son to the barbershop, when you take your son to the barbershop, you all can have that argument, okay?
You got the goatee. You can get the goatee trimmed.
Thank you, Gordon. Thank you.
Man, but y'all do a great show, man, and I really appreciate coming on. And Gordon, you do an awesome job, man, of putting it and orchestrating it and getting it all out there for the listeners. So, man, I can't wait to see this one, man. I'm definitely gonna share it on my platform, man. And the kids just need to know what Chicago Public School is all about.